believe it or not, so many people are in that position, and many have not yet discovered that they do have options. And you, my friend, have made the decision against reason to bring yourself, to pull yourself out of your situations. Well, hello and welcome back, my love. It is so amazing to see your beautiful face again. I know when we last met about 2 months ago, you were at a crossroad in your life. And I'm so excited to just have that conversation with you because, believe it or not, so many people are in that position, and many have not yet discovered that they do have option. And you, my friend, have made the decision against reason to bring yourself, to pull yourself out of your situation. So welcome back. Tell me where you are. How are things going with you?
Thank you so much for having me back. 60 days ago, my life changed when I came here. Actually, probably about 70 days ago when we first met on the phone. And from me coming here, everything about the way I think, the way I move, the way I see myself, the way I see God in my life has changed. And one of the things that I shared with a crew member earlier today was that I've been living in bondage for 28 years. I've been living the great life, the good life, right? I was a teenage mom. And because of that, I experienced a lot of judgment as a young girl. And so getting married seemed like the next step for me.
Come on, Tammy.
Right?
Yes.
That was the next right step.
Absolutely.
For me. That was the next step that commanded respect for me.
So says who? Okay, got it.
And so that's the next step I took. And married my high school sweetheart. Loved him, but was 17. What in the world did I know about love? What in the world did I know about me?
Right. Let's dissect that. That's a really good segue, because a lot of time, and you said it best, what the heck did you know about love at 17 and marrying your high school sweetheart? So here you are, 17, and I know prior, based on our conversation, so much had happened prior to you turning 17, and so much that you repressed, that you kept in, that you didn't want to be further judged because you was already being judged at 17, having a kid that wasn't what your parents wanted or society wanted for you.
That's right.
And so to go from a lot of the stuff that I would rather you later talk about, but to go from that repressed 5-7-year-old you to now 17, thinking, okay, here I am. The next thing for me, or the next way for me to further mask my situation is to probably be with someone else, like most of us do it. And so tell me, from that, how did you transition from that space where you was already hurting, already broken, and then to mask that brokenness is to say, I'm going to get married?
I don't even know if I ever transitioned. I think I just took it with me. I took the pain with me.
Wow.
I took the way that I learned how to cope from being hurt as a little girl. I took all that with me, all of that defensiveness, all of that fight with me. I just took it with me. I didn't transition out of it. I didn't transform out of it. And so it showed up in my behavior in the marriage.
So it showed up, and that's a really good thought. It showed up in your behavior. In what way? Because so now, who showed up? Because there is a you, and we'll talk about that later, right? Because we'll talk about that later. So
Chicago showed up.
Chicago showed up. Okay, okay. So then there is a you that was broken at a young age, and we'll dissect that later. And then a you that now is 17, had a kid, living in shame, and in order to further succumb your shame, it makes sense to marry the person that you got pregnant for.
That's right.
And so bringing all of that over, tell me, who were you in that relationship?
And first of all, let me just say, it wasn't that I did not love him, because I did, or at least what I thought was love.
Right.
Is 16 and 17 and 18.
Right.
At least what I thought it was.
Right.
So I did love him. I just didn't know who I was, and I didn't really know what he was, because when you get married, you have two different histories coming together.
Yep.
Everything that he's learned from mama and daddy and all of them, cousin and sister, play brother and all of them, and then what I've learned from mom, daddy, play cousin, and all of them. And so now we're trying to merge these two tribes. And I'll say that for the first year, it was pretty cool. We were still getting to know each other. I gave birth about 2 months after initially getting married.
Got it.
And so it was just that journey of, okay, who am I as a mother? Who is he as a father? It was just that journey. But then after that, I would say starting from that second year, it was like, oh, we're real people. Oh, okay, so you don't really like your bed made up like this, or you don't like this kind of behavior, or you don't like when women react real loud, because I'm kind of loud. I mean, he wasn't. So all of those different dynamics began to come into play. And so now, how do we communicate? Like, how do we talk about this? Because he communicates one way by not communicating normally. But I'm loud. I'm like, okay, well, what's up?
Right.
Well, why did you do that?
Right.
Well, are you going to change anything? Is something going to? I mean, what you going to do? That's what I learned.
Right.
That aggressiveness kept me alive. All those.
That was your defense mechanism.
Right.
Got
right.
it.
So, counseling. Okay, let's go to counseling.
So you discovered within 2 years in your relationship.
The second year. I discovered the second year.
Wow.
You know,
Who thought was it to go to counseling?
Prior conditionings.
Got it.
If you're married, you have to stay married.
Okay.
And if you have problems, go see the counselor.
Okay.
That's what the church says, so that's what
you did.
Right.
Right. How is that working for you?
Let's see. 28 years and about 5 or more counselors later.
28 years.
And still no communication or oneness or wholeness.
But it looks good that you're married.
Right.
It looks good that you're married.
Yeah, well, it looked good.
Yeah.
I mean, we were in the church, we're pillars in the community. I've been singing for over 20 years, so people know me, they know who I am. He's a stand-up guy, great guy, involved in the ministry. I mean, it looked like the perfect family.
So what would you say, Tammy? Most people don't know that they don't know.
Right.
That happiness beyond that exists for them.
Yeah.
So initially, I remember getting a call from Rudy, your business partner, right? Who said, you got to meet Tammy. And I think you were somewhere and he attempted to put us on the phone. Nevertheless, he felt that we needed to connect. Why did you think that was so important to him that you and I connect at that moment at the time when we connected?
Well, Rudy is all about purpose. Oh gosh, like, bruh, can you put on another record? You're playing that same record over and over again.
Got it.
But for him, everything is purpose. And so he believed that it was purpose for he and I to meet and start working together and start helping other people. And then for him to have met you guys, you and your amazing husband, the professor, right?
You called him the professor.
The professor,
yes.
That's
yes.
right. That's who he is to me. He's the professor. And so he just kept saying, Tammy, you and Chantal need to meet. There's some journey here. There's something here that I don't know what it is, but you all need to meet. And so we did.
Absolutely. I remember the very first time.
And the convergence was magic.
Very, very magical. And I remember the first time we got on the phone and then you just felt that you had to come down. Like
Yes, I did.
You just
Yes, I
felt that
did.
there was something that needed to happen for you.
Yes.
What was that you were looking for? That you felt, that deep yearning.
Yeah.
That you probably felt a very long time ago, but didn't know how to go about, finding it. So, what was it that caused you to come 900 miles away to come down to Florida?
Well, okay, so I'll take it here. So I grew up in the church, right?
Okay.
Grew up under the whole singing umbrella and the pastor and the deacons and the women's of the church and the armor bearer, all of it. I know it all very well. As a matter of fact, my dad was a pastor of 2 churches before he passed. So I understood that dynamic. Sitting under that dynamic and that teaching, like all that time, about 15 years ago, I came to a place where I was sitting in the church, looking up at the pastor preaching, and there was a cross, behind his back. Normally, they're standing on the pulpit and then there's a cross behind the back. And I started hearing, listen, because you are as filthy rags, because, you have to understand your place with God and who you are not and who it's almost like they're preaching to us from the standpoint of us trying to take something away from the one who made everything. And then I began in that one moment, I started asking myself I don't know if it was a question or if it was a statement, but I said, okay, I got it.
Tell me, who did you have to be from 28 years later to stay in that condition, assuming that was your life?
Performer.
A performer.
I've been performing on stages for 20 years.
So then why not perform at life?
Right. You go back home and you do it the way
they told you to do it.
They told you to do it. This is the way it's done, and you don't get divorces, and that's evil and death, and it's just
because God not in it.
Right.
God is not in you.
So
separating, so it's easier to die the victim of your distorted imagination in this condition that isn't working for you.
Right, because then at least it would be okay with everybody else.
Right.
It's okay with all the onlookers, with all of the church members, with all the people that are watching you. Then it's okay. It's okay for everybody else.
But then who did you have to be to allow that to be okay for you? The performer.
Yeah.
You said.
Yeah.
So where else did that performance show up in your life, in your relationship, in your career? Where's the performer?
I know we're going to talk about some more stuff.
Absolutely.
At another time, but it kept me from showing up 100% as me. I did vocal lessons and, I did shows and performances and I've been seen different places, but whenever I was really put out there, there was always something that it seemed like was holding me back, like a wall, if you will. Or every time I opened up my mouth to sing, I would feel that something was holding back my real voice, my magnified voice. So.
Could it have been what? Shame? Guilt? Resentment? Living a life that you didn't want? Performing for a people that doesn't mean you any good? Could it have been displaced anger? What do you think it was?
I think it was all of that. And you're forgetting about the people. So you still got your mama watching you, and your daddy. You still got the church watching you, and your friends who are expecting you to show up a certain way.
Tell me that. I mean, sitting here hearing it, I've coached so many individuals, and it's almost like the same story, but in a different way. Because we've learned on a societal standpoint how to put on for everyone.
Right.
That our lives become a prop.
Right.
And so we've accepted that prop and we show up as if That prop is really our life.
Right.
And I'm here to tell you, Tammy, your pain, your situation, the trauma that you've been repressing all these years is not your life. It's only your life situation. And what you didn't know before is that you had options. And that you, out of everything and everyone, had the power and control to transition and transcend your life. And you made that decision when you took that flight from Maryland all the way to Florida to come here and do something different. Now, 98% of the world is willing to maintain that condition for the sake of looking good. But you, my friend, you made a decision against reason to be unreasonable in your situation to do different. And that is to be acknowledged. I honor you. When I see you, I see myself like many individuals that I do see. I've learned that everyone's journey may be different, but it's all the same.
Yeah.
I encounter some of the very same pain and hurt that you encounter. So when you came here, I saw it. But I had to be very strategic in my process because I could not allow you to transition from one set of prop to another set. Because sometimes what people do in life is like, okay, I'm going to go for counseling just to say, at least I tried. Look, I went to counseling. I attempted counseling. I tried. But I'm not really committed to the outcome of what that might really come.
Right.
And so I want us to talk about that. But I remember initially when you called me, you was fed up about performing. And what you're committing to doing for your life is not just for you. All of those individuals who's expecting you to show up in a specific way have the same mandate on them. And most of them are living in a distorted reality of themselves, never really being able to bring themselves home.
I have people messaging me already asking me, what did you do? How did you what did you do?
Of course, they can see it.
And I'm still in process. I'm not even
complete.
Right.
This journey, Tammy, and I think when we first met, I said it has nothing to do with no one else. This is solely your responsibility. And I think a lot of what we've learned is learn helplessness.
That's right.
That maybe if I wait on God, right, then I don't have to take the responsibility of doing what I'm capable of doing. God can't move this couch. But most of us are waiting on God to show up in areas that he's already proved. There is no more coming down for that sun. That sun is already out, and he's made the declaration for that sun to come down one time. And every day the sun and moon comes, rise, and go up at the time when they're supposed to. But it's us and our capacity to not know who we are.
Yes.
And most of all, whose we are.
That's right.
And what other people have told us about who we are and what we're not.
And that's not easy, Chantal, to tell me that this stuff going on around me is on me. Because it is easier. I'm just waiting on God.
Yeah.
I used to say, how are you waiting on the creator of worlds? How do you wait on the creator of worlds?
Because it lets you off the hook. You don't have to do anything. I've had people to come and say, well, I tried coaching. No, you're not committed. You coming here just to say you did something. Mm-hmm. So I want to kind of take back, Tammy, as we unfolding this and discovering, because you've made in the time, and you talk about 70 days, some people live their whole life and not even know that they don't know, that they don't know, that they don't know that they're living in a distorted reality of themselves.
Yeah.
I know that you have a lot of clients, women, business women, who wants to take their story or their brand to the next level, and you do a really fine job at that. Where do you find it that the falsity that you lived in for so long, the prop that you lived, how many other people from the the people you work with, because from my perspective, I see it as just like we've allowed the prop to be a norm for us that, hey, suffering become my life, right? And that's all I know. A woman being beaten to death would remain in that unhappy situation because she doesn't think she can do better.
That's right.
Not even knowing that there is a vast world, a multiverse that exists beyond her.
And it's infinite.
It's infinite. But reason will tell you you're too old for this. You too short, you too big, you too skinny, you too dark, you too light, that nobody would want you. So how do you, and I know this is not a walk in the park for you,
right,
Tammy, and I don't want you or anybody else watching to think this is something easy that they can just pick up and go. It requires preparation.
Yes.
It requires, most of all, what is the word that I tell you?
Oh, Lord. Between strategy and practice?
Absolutely.
Oh, Jesus.
It requires strategy.
I don't even want to hear the word practice again.
But it's all about the practice.
Tammy, stay in your practice.
Let's talk about your practice.
Oh, Lord.
When you left here, you got back and you called me about something because you've lived your whole life wanting to control the events of life to your way of being.
And I've been controlling it.
Yeah.
Not well, but
how is that working for you?
What wasn't working. But,
at all.
You know.
But that's what you used to. It's your mechanism. And so you got back and you called me and you thought I had something profound for you.
Yeah.
What happened in that situation?
Something from heaven. I thought it was going to come.
Right.
I thought it was going to, like appear in the cloud and come down and sit before me.
So you wanted to further control even this outcome. You already, you had a determined outcome of what you used to, and not even knowing that although you wanted transformation, that mechanism, that kid, that young lady, that younger you, who is always manipulating the events and how you want it done. And I wasn't going to be that for you.
Well, see, you asked me about my clients earlier. So we tend to attract what we are, right? So these amazing, powerful people are coming to me with their presentations or with their stories. And a lot of times the problem that they think is the problem is not the problem.
Facts.
The problem is the story that they're standing in, the story that they're telling themselves about who they are not every day.
Right.
And that's running like a tape recorder over and over again, right?
Yep.
And so it's easier to help somebody else.
Right.
Right? I mean, I don't know if that's ego or not, but that
it's part of the commander, and what it does, it kind of put away.
Yeah.
What
I mean, let me fix you.
Yeah, right. So that way I can kind of further cover mine.
Right.
Welcome back. As you all know, we are discussing this amazing conversation with Tammy. Tammy, it's truly amazing to see who you are today and where you are in your quest for transformation and your undeniable commitment to stay the course and maintain the practice. Practice, practice, practice.
Yes.
And so I want to thank you for the opportunity to just engage with you, and in your story and your conversation, I know that I see part of me in it. And I thank you for who you are to yourself and who you are awakening to become for yourself and those who may be watching, and even your children. Some woman back in Maryland may come back and say, thank you for showing up for Tammy.
Yes.
Which in fact will make me show up for myself. So
that's why
I honor you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love you. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Chantel Malord with the Chantel Malord Show. I'm so glad you and I are connected. Remember to follow me on all my social media platforms and visit me at chantelmalord.com as we further this conversation. Let's stay connected.